and over and over. And eventually, the peach started to float towards her until she could finally just reach in, take it out, and the peach was as big as her head. It was huge. She was so excited. She hadn't had a treat like this in forever. And the most thing that she could think of is how happy her husband would be whenever he saw it. So she immediately took all the laundry, threw it into the basket, threw it on her back, and held the peach in her arms and ran the entire way home. Well, that was the longest day of her life because she couldn't wait for her husband to come home and see this. So she waited, and she waited, and as soon as he walked in the door, she said, "Hello, honey. How was your day?" He goes on and talks about the bamboo, and he finally notices, "You're smiling so much. What's happening?" She says, "Honey, look in the kitchen." So he walks into the little area. He pulls it out and he puts it on the table and he sees the ginormous peach he's ever seen. He becomes very excited. "Where did you get this?" "Well, I found it, Bob." "Please, eat it." Well, the old man takes out a knife, holds it above the peach, and no sooner as he begins to slice into it, it splits apart and a little boy pops out. And with perfect manners, he says, "Hello, Mother. Hello, Father." I was hungry, but now I'm a mother and father. But they didn't question it. They immediately picked up the little boy, held him in their arms, and they started loving him again. From that instant, they were their fathers. And Momotaro eventually explained to them that I'm sent by the gods to comfort them in their old age and take care of them. Now, the reason they call him Momotaro is because it means son of peach. Next time you get angry, call someone son of peach. See how they do. Well, as Momotaro grew older and older, they realized he was stronger, more attractive, and generally just better than others his age. Most like everyone here probably thinks they are. But as he got older, he just got better. Until one day he was 15 years old. And he came up to his parents and said, "Father, you've been so good to me. And you've taken such good care of me. I could have never asked for a better father." Well, immediately the man was very curious. His son didn't normally talk like this. This must mean something. So he said, "Son, what's going on?" And Momotaro replied, "Father, you've taken such good care of me. And I look forward to taking care of you one day. I never know how I can repay this debt." His father replied, "I've taken care of you, and whenever I'm too old to take care of myself, you will take care of me. There will be no loss between us. Everything will even out, so don't worry." And Momotaro says, "I realize that, but before that happens, I would like one adventure. One thing I can do before I have to take up that mantle." He says, "I have heard of a distant land where there is a castle full of demons that have been ravaging the countryside. They're cannibals, they eat people. They've been disrespecting the lord of the land. Something has to stop, and I can do it. Would you want your son to go off to that?"
Yeah.
Someone said, "Yeah. You must not be a very good parent." You're 19, don't have kids. Don't have pets, stay away from Shiro too, apparently. Well, the old man tries to dissuade his son from going, but he can't be moved, so he finally decides this must be what's right for Momotaro. He was always meant for better things. So that night, he and his wife go and they make an entire thing of rice cakes for him. And the next day, through tears in their eyes, they send Momotaro off on his own. And Momotaro is quite sad at first, but the more steps he takes away, the more he realizes this is what's meant to be. Momotaro walks and walks and walks, until finally he gets tired and he sits down under a tree, takes out a rice cake, and just as he's about to eat it, this gigantic dog as big as a horse jumps out and starts growling at him. Sesshomaru, I want to see extra effort from you. Much better. There's our dog. And he starts saying, "Give me all your rice cakes, leave, and I might let you live. You're trespassing on my lands." Was Momotaro going to take this? Please. Do you know who I am? I don't care who you are. You're on my lands. This is mine. Leave the cakes or die. And Momotaro says, "I am the son of a peach. You dare challenge me?" And suddenly the dog goes, "No." or die. He pulls out his sword, holds it at the dog, and issues his challenge, to which Sesshomaru said, Sesshomaru gets beat up by his little brother. No. I'm sorry. To which the dog says, okay. And he comes up to Momotaro, his tail hidden between his legs, his ears down, a little bit hunched over, says, can I please have a rice cake? And Momotaro says, these are very special rice cakes, so I'll give you half of mine. Well, they travel on, and the dog's very excited about battle, until one day he hears, oh no, this is not good. The dog starts growling immediately. And then one day we're gonna do this, we're gonna have a battle. This side is going to be the dogs, this side are gonna be the monkeys. I want it going on at the same time. I love this, there's so much chaos. Well, immediately they start fighting. The dog jumps at them, don't do this. Don't kill each other, I will get fired. I like being a director. So they start going at each other, and Momotaro watches, and he realizes, might want to stop this. So he grabs a hold of the dog, pulls him back by his collar, looks at the monkey and says, what are you doing here? And the monkey replies, I just want to be in on this. What are you talking about? I've heard of you, Momotaro. I know where you're going. I know you're going to fight the demons, and I can fight. Let me in. So the dog's apparently not happy about it. But eventually the monkey convinces Momotaro. And he's given half a rice cake and allowed to join the party. But the dog and the monkey keep fighting, so eventually Momotaro has to separate them. He puts the dog in front, the monkey in back. They can't be around each other, it must be fine. And they keep going on and on. Dog's not very happy, and then one day he sees a gigantic bird flying in the sky. Which is apparently what pheasants sound like. I'm okay with that. It flies down on the ground, sits, and immediately the dog goes after the poor bird. I don't know what pheasants sound like. You guys started that part. And they start fighting. Momotaro watches and he realizes this bird ain't half bad. So he calls back the dog, holds onto him by his throat and says, bird, you have a choice. Join my party or I'll let this dog tear you to pieces. That's the way to get friends. But the bird immediately complies because he'd like to live another day. Finally, Momotaro explains who he is, what he's going to do, and the bird becomes very excited. But they all keep fighting. You have the bird, the monkey, the dog, all together. Our birds are very lazy. I'm disappointed, but I'm gonna let it slip. Well, they keep fighting and fighting, and finally Momotaro cannot take any more. And he looks at him and says, we cannot continue this. If we're divided, we will never win. We have to fight as one. If you cannot get along, go back. I have no need for people who can't work. I'd do better alone than with chaos like this. To which they all try, no, we'll get along, we really will. And from that moment on, they began to truly become friends. Because that usually works, forcing people to get along. Apparently. So they're going on, and finally come to this great ocean. They start to step back and back. They've never seen this kind of water before, and instantly Momotaro realized they were afraid. So he starts yelling at them, go back home, I have no need for cowards like you. If you're afraid of water, what are you going to do in the face of demons? Well, he keeps yelling at them, starts throwing stones at one point to get the cowards away, but they reply, oh, I'm not scared. And the monkey says, yeah, I can take a little bit of water, it's not too bad. And the bird says, if you I'll just fly. So eventually they all get on a boat, And they start to go over the water, and eventually after a little bit of seasickness, they do a little bit better. And a few days into this, after they have their very last rice cake, they look up and they see the castle. Momotaro sends the pheasant up ahead. He flies up, and he was sent to scout ahead and let the demons know what was coming their way so that they had a chance to surrender. If they were able to, they were to break off their horns, throw them on the grounds, and lie down in submission to Momotaro. And in that case, they'd be allowed to live. Do you think they were afraid of a bird when they started showing up? The demons laughed at the bird. They started throwing their club at it. And they instantly went to go get their tiger skins to take them on, because that's very fashionable in the demon kingdom. Not making that part up. But the bird keeps fighting, and they realize suddenly that this bird can fight with the veracity of 20 demons. It keeps coming and coming, and they suddenly don't know if they're fighting one bird or several. And this entire time, Momotaro, the monkey, and the dog are still coming on land. Eventually, once they dock, they see two lovely young maidens. I'm going to click on YouTube, it's of course. And they looked very sad. Okay, let's try this again. Stand up, look at the audience, and look sad. They don't even have to pretend they're in front of an audience. They looked very sad. Momotaro comes up to them and he asks, "What is wrong?" They say, "We are two princesses. We were taken by the Demon King, and he forces us to wash for him, to clean for him, and eventually he'll eat us like he has all the others." Well, Momotaro made them a promise. If they showed him the way into the castle, he would set them free. So they find the little crook in the hole and wall, they let him in, and instantly Momotaro, the dog, and the monkey join in the battle. And it's shortly after that that they win. The king of the demons, I'm gonna just pick on you, Steve, starts begging for his life. And Momotaro just thinks, show a little dignity. Instantly, the king of the demons, at that point, rips off his horn, throws it on the ground, and starts begging for his life. I can't pick on Seshi. I like Seshi. I did, but never mind. And Momotaro says, "For what you've done, I cannot let you live. But I can let the people decide." So he threw a rope to the monkey, who instantly tied up the Demon King. Then the dog and the pheasant went through. They let all the people go that had been kept captive, including the princesses. And they also made sure to collect all the gold that was there too. It's always lying around. It's gold month in Japan, don't you know? And they began making their way back home in a gigantic procession. Along the way, Momotaro was greeted as a hero by all these people. He was welcomed in all the castles where he returned the princesses, offered several handsome marriages, though he didn't take them. Not that our lovely ladies aren't wonderful. But when he returned home, it wasn't the gold, it wasn't the glory. None of that mattered to the parents, so they were proud. They were glad that their son had returned safe, sound, and with friends that would march into battle with him. Aww, so cute. Well, what do we learn?
Bribery falls everywhere.
Okay, one person at a time. Chaos is good. Okay? Yes?
Friendship is magic.
That is true, but I might get in trouble for copyright infringement.
Magic is friendship?
Please do not take that as intent. Yes, force people to get along and totally work. I have the most sarcastic audience ever, I love it. Okay, you guys are not allowed to be my friends. None of you. Are you gonna throw rocks at me? Are you gonna move to Japan because that's where the money is? I've been over there, it's not true. Yes, Dragon Lady.
What unity,
United we stand, divided we fall. Yes! Thank you! Although friendship is magic is true. I always wanted to be I be an alicorn when I grew up, but I found out I couldn't.
Sad. Always follow talking animals?
But I'm already at home with a dead phoenix. What?
You're close to a phoenix. Isn't that good enough?
Maybe. Okay, do we want to hear a scary story, or do we want to hear a regular story next? Okay. Once upon a time, there was a man who was going along a nice little area. He was walking across a bridge, and he noticed that on the other side of the bridge, there was a woman who looked quite sad. She held her kimono above her eyes, and she looked at him, and she kept crying, and he asked her, "What's wrong?" "I would like to give this box to my friend, but I have no way to get to this land. Would you happen to be going to Kyoto?" To which the man replied, "Yes. I have to keep counting you guys. If I do gestures, you know. Yes." And then he made the mistake of offering to take it for her. But when he asked who it was meant for, she said, "You'll know. She'll be at the bridge waiting for you on the other side of Kyoto. You'll meet her." To which he began to get very suspicious. And when she handed him the box, she said, "Make sure you don't open it." Goes away. Well, that night, the man gets home. He picks it up, and he realizes that he forgot something. He forgot the woman at the bridge. And his wife, being a very jealous woman, thought that he was bringing a gift for her mistress. Dun, dun, dun. So she opens the box, and she looks inside, and she sees hair, and eyeballs, male members, fingers, and she puts it down and she screams. To which he walks in and he sees the box, he slams the lid shut, and he immediately starts shaking. He shouldn't have opened the box. Well, keen to complete his word and hopeful that it would negate any kind of curse, he immediately goes to the bridge where there was a woman waiting. She took the box, saw the look on his face and said, "What did you see? You shouldn't have opened the box." Well, he thought nothing of it. He went home. He thought it was going to be negated. And that night he heard, "What did you see? Did you look in the box? What did you see?" And the next day his hair started to fall out. And this went on. He wasn't really quite sure, but then he kept hearing, "What did you see? Did you look in the box? What did you see?" And he began to get sick, and he started to lose his eyesight. And this continued on, until the man became absolutely nothing. He quite literally fell apart. To which his wife could only do one thing: put it in a box. That's called a coffin. Just so you know, in Japanese ghost stories, if someone tells you not to do something, don't. If there's a dark sound at night, don't go towards it. It's not a good idea. No, you can do it in American Horror Stories. You know why? Because usually you're really annoying, so I don't care for that. I'm just being honest. Okay, who wants to end on a cute one that I've done before at this convention? I'm going to tell you the story. I have to wrap it on a note, and then we're done. Once upon a time, there was an old man who lived on the road. And he was very lonely. He always looked upon the earth, but he had no one to keep him company. And as he looked upon the earth, he saw three friends in particular: a rabbit, a fox, and a monkey. And they were all very happy, and they were outside dancing together, because that's what they did. And he had an idea. I'm going to go introduce myself. So he came to Earth, and he appeared as a shriveled old man. And he came up to the friends. "I'm so very hungry. Could you please help me?" Well, immediately the friends said, "Yes! Of course, they're good people." So they immediately go off. The fox ends up getting fish from his trap in the river. The monkey goes and gets some nuts that he had hidden. And the rabbit looked and looked and looked, and no matter how much he looked, he couldn't find anything for the man to eat. looks at the monkey, asks him to gather some wood. The monkey thinks nothing of it, immediately does so. And whenever he's asked to arrange it in his position of bonfire, he does, but he doesn't understand. The rabbit looks at his fox friend and says, "Please use your fox magic." Well, the fox does. Then the rabbit comes up before the old man, bows down and says, "I could find nothing for you, so please eat me instead." So the rabbit gets ready to jump into the fire, and just as he's about to, the old man transforms into his actual self, grabs the rabbit in his arms, and holds him close. And as he does, he starts floating above the ground. And lets the friends know, I came here looking for true friendship, for true kindness. And while you were all kind, there was one who was more so than the rest. And he started floating and floating. And in reward for what the rabbit had done, he was allowed to live on the moon with the man, where he lives to this day. And if you look up in the sky at night, you can still see him up there, pounding at the mochi. Aww, what do we learn from this story? There are so many answers. Do not eat your friends. You know what? You really cannot be my friend. Self-sacrifice is not always a bad thing. It's more what it's about. Yes. So much sarcasm in this audience. I love it. And on that note, once upon a time is a magical thing. There's so many stories that you really can't keep up with all of them, but if you pay attention to what they are, they teach us who we are, what we should be, and what we were. You can learn a lot about the culture of the country from looking at their fairy tales. It says a lot of their social structure, what they expect. You can learn many things, but you have to pay attention and be willing to learn. And remember, when you go to sleep, once upon a time, and don't look in a box. And for people who have dust balls come forward, I'm going to just throw them and you can have them.
Part of the fact.